The silence between bombardments felt heavier than the blasts themselves. Smoke clung to the fractured moon's surface, curling around jagged craters like ghostly fingers. Lieutenant Cross knelt beside a groaning soldier, fingers working fast under the flickering emergency light of her. Plasma had scorched half his armor, but he'd lived, too stubborn to die like most humans here. She sealed the wound, moved to the next. The ceasefire was unofficial, just long enough to collect the barely breathing. No air support, no evac. Only field medics scattered like dust over broken stone. Her calm was dead. Her water pack empty. Her medical supplies dwindling fast. That's when she saw it. It lay beneath collapsed stone, breathing slow, shallow, ragged. A body too large for a human, too intricate for a machine. Muttered crimson scales dulled by dried blood. The alien dragon, the enemy. 15 feet from snout to tail. Its wing torn. Its chest punctured. Abandoned. Every instinct told her to walk away. Eordens made no room for compassion. Especially not for a monster that had likely melted swords alive. She stared anyway. Its eye was open. Cloudy. Watching her. Not with fury. Not fear. Just waiting. She approached slowly. Not because she feared attack, but because she didn't know why she was doing it. The readings on her scanner were brutal. Massive internal damage. Crushed rib supports. Blood pressure bottoming out. A healer would have deemed it unworthy of rescue hours ago. But there were no medics here. Only her. She dropped to her knees beside it, searching for the cracked artery beneath thick hide. Her fingers found what felt like a pulse, barely there. She hesitated, then flipped open her last compartment. One vial remained. A single shot of compound adrenaline. Enough to restart a human heart. Maybe. She glanced over her shoulder. A wounded corporal groaned nearby, conscious but not critical. He'd survive with a field bandage and luck. Her hand tightened around the vial. You're not supposed to matter, she whispered. She slid the injector between two scales and pushed the plunger. For 2 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the dragon's body jolted once, just a twitch. A respiter from its throat. The eye fluttered, widened, dilated. She moved back slightly as its claws scraped the ground weakly, not in aggression but in confusion. Its breathing deepened, still labored but present. She didn't say anything. What would she say? You're welcome. Don't eat me. Instead, she scanned its chest again. Stabilized barely. Temporary. The adrenaline was a patch, not a cure. But it was enough. She began dressing its wounds like she would any patient. Her fingers moved mechanically, wrap, seal, compress. The physiology was foreign, but damage was universal. Blood loss, fractures, tissue trauma, they were the same no matter the species. Its body convulsed once as she pressed a bun mesh over a gaping wound. She flinched. It didn't strike her. Voices rose in the distance. Human soldiers shouting. She stood waving them off as they ran closer. One of them, Sergeant Callan, froze when he saw the dragon rifle halfway raised. Is that thing alive? Yes, she said. He stared at her, then the injector in her hand. You wasted your last dose on that. She didn't blink. I made a call. Callan soft. Hargov triaged, Lieutenant. That thing touched 10 of ours last week. And it's not doing that now, is it? You better pray command doesn't hear. Maybe I will, she muttered, kneeling back beside the creature. The dragon's eye followed her. Slower now. Focused. Not mindless. Not hollow. Still suffering but no longer alone. She pulled a ration from her pocket, pressing the hydration tab against its jaw. It didn't react, but she did it anyway. Habit. Duty. There was no protocol for this. No method. No guarantee of survival. Just a moment, a choice made and then fire. When human medic. When dying enemy. When shot. She reached for her bag again. She still had one unit of half, a roll of sealant tape and a needle large enough to stitch fast twice her fingers' width. The dragon's tail shifted slightly, curling away from her touch but not in rejection. Her eyes burned dry from smoke and exhaustion. Her hands were bloodied, trembling, calloused. "You're not the worst thing I've seen today," she said quietly. As she worked, she didn't notice that the creature's breathing was syncing with hers. They stayed like that, soldier and beast, medic and monster, beneath the blackened stars where no one else would come. Was still barely able to lift his head when returned with a medical rig. She had salvaged what she could from destroyed field parts, converting two metal braces into improvised splints for his shattered leg. His body was unnaturally still, as if trying not to burden the space around him. Blood continued to seep through cracks in his scales, thicker now but slow. That meant circulation had improved. Barely. Her squad hadn't spoken to her since yesterday. She didn't care. She had work to do. Every motion was deliberate, tie, bind, reinforce. She swabbed the wounds, careful not to apply pressure to exposed nerve tissue. Flinched only once. No growl. No show of strength. Just endurance. He tried to speak. The vibration rumbled in his throat like thunder trapped in ice. She shook her head, holding up a hand. Don't waste energy. Whether he understood the words or the tone, he stopped. The emergency translator hadn't calibrated properly. Vocal frequencies were incompatible with standard linguistic software. But expression spoke more than words. Head began watching her hands. Each time she gestured or reached, his gaze followed. He wasn't just observing, he was learning. Food was scarce. She broke a ration bar into pieces, softening it with water and placing it near his jaw. He didn't eat for hours. When he did, it was mechanical, slow, as if unused to the act of being cared for. The others kept their distance. Some whispered, "You're feeding a killer. It's pretending to be weak. Next time it wakes up, we'll be charred meat." Nan said it to her face. Not yet. She didn't justify her actions. There was nothing to defend. Her oath wasn't. Life was life. If the others couldn't see that, it wasn't her burden. One night, while the rest slept in scattered intervals, shifted suddenly. The motion triggered a low metallic shriek as one of the makeshift braces snapped. Moved without thinking, sliding on his shoulder to keep him steady. He froze. Muscles tensed, a close twitching near her ribs but never touching. "Too soon," she whispered. "You're not ready." He made a low rumble, not pain but frustration. She looked him in the eye. "I get it. You're a soldier. So am I, doesn't mean we throw away the parts still working." He blinked slowly once. The following day, the battlefield changed. Rikan reported hostile movement near the crater edge. Scavenger drones had been spotted, circling like vultures. Her squad prepped for a fallback, but the evac schedule was unreliable. If a lift didn't arrive, they'd be stranded. sensed the tension. His body remained grounded, yet his tail flicked in slow mirrored arcs. Awareness returning. Combat instinct flickering back to life. Stayed beside him. She knew what the others were thinking. If the drones closed in, they'd run. They'd leave her. They'd leave him. That evening, a sudden quake signal incoming artillery. Distant but moving closer. The SWAT scrambled to locate their wounded. Van Cooper slipped, pinned beneath debris. Els sprinted to help. A shadow passed over her. Ruse. Not standing but crawling or dragging his damaged limbs stirred her. His claws gripped the stone. Each movement drew blood. His chest rattled with effort. But he moved. A blast hit nearby. Fire erupted across the slope. She ducked. Met a shrapnel screamed through the air. A wave of searing heat followed. Her skin burned, her knees giving out. Reached her. His wing still extended instinctively. Fire rolled over it, deflected. The exposed flesh beneath charred. He didn't move. Didn't flinch. She stared at him, Stan. He had shielded her. Voluntarily. No programming. No command. No. After the smoke cleared, she crawled beside him. His breathing was ragged again. He didn't speak, but his eyes locked on hers. No one's coming for you, she said. And I might not be enough. He shifted his head in, nudging her shoulder lightly with his snout. She exhaled sharply. Stubborn bastard. She sat beside him through the night, hands wrapped around her rifle, gaze shifting between the stars and the sleeping dragon. The others didn't approach. Maybe they were afraid of him. Maybe they were afraid of what it meant that a creature raised for destruction had protected one of them. She glanced at the. It was almost empty now. But for the first time in days, she didn't feel powerless. The rumors reached command before any report did. A human medic saving her was too strange to ignore. At first, it sounded like a myth, an exaggeration passed between Beard grunts. But then footage surfaced, grainy helmet cam clips showing a bleeding dragon shielding humans from fire, its wings wrapped over soldiers not of its own kind. Within hours, the name was flagged. Her superior officers didn't send thanks. They sent silence followed by reassignment orders that came with no explanation. Her unit was to fall back through unstable territory. No transport. No backup. Just a direction and a deadline. Couldn't be moved on foot. The others debated leaving him. She didn't. Head began understanding her voice. Not the words, but tone, rhythm, intention. He responded to short commands: stop, wait, follow. His injuries still forced him to move on all fours, but he followed her, slow and deliberate in every strain. The ground shook under his weight, but he walked beside her like he belonged. The train was worse than expected. Collapsed supply stations offered no shelter. The battlefield slowed movement. Her team had split into pairs to cover ground, most giving her space. Only a few dared speak. Van asked if she thought the creature would turn on them when food ran out. She answered without looking up. If it wanted us dead, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Didn't sleep much. His instincts were on edge. He sensed movement before drones arrived, lifted his head when comms picked up static. She trusted him more than the scanners now. When the ambush came, it wasn't a surprise, it was confirmation. Hostiles surrounded the ruins. Most were automated. A few weren't. Team was pinned within minutes. No cover. No time. No higher command response. She ordered fallback, digging one of the wounded and a fractured wall. That's when stood fully upright. He didn't rear. He didn't wait. He lunged. The beast they once feared became the wall between them and death. Plasma shots bounced off his scales. His claws turned into armored groans. Every movement was focused, efficient. Not wild or trained. He wasn't acting from rage. He was choosing who to fight for. The sword skepticism shifted to stand silence. No one gave him orders, but he watched. When she pointed, he responded. When she moved, he followed. Her medic band glowed faint and an ash and dust man that was enough for him to align with. After the ambush, they found shelter in an old mining pit. Water trickled through a fractured pipe. Carl near the entrance, breathing heavily, dressed his wounds without speaking. He didn't flinch. One of the younger soldiers stepped close, holding a ration bar in a shaking hand. Is it safe? She didn't answer. Instead, leaned forward and took the offering gently. What's his name? Paused. At least it was. They struck it from their records. Why? He was left behind. In their culture, that means you're nothing. Not dead, worse. Forgotten. The silence that followed said more than any evidence. No one challenged her after that. As they prepared to move again, an officer arrived. Lieutenant Wren. Rigid textbook lawless. He had orders. Was to be terminated, security risk, threat to morale. No exception. Stood in his way, rifle in hand. You'd kill the reason we're still alive, she asked. He's not one of us. He bled for us. He's a weapon. When that turns, always. He already chose. We just haven't. Remain still ahead, Lord, breathing slow. Watching. Listening. The standoff ended without shots. Wren backed down, not convinced but unwilling to force the issue. That night approached the day built from scavenged crates. He lowered his body near the warmth, eyes reflecting flame. No one moved away. Sat beside him, her back resting against his shoulder. His scales were cracked, burned, layered with dirt and scar tissue. But they were warm. Why me? She asked quietly. Didn't answer in words. He never did. But his body remained beside hers and moving, grounded, not from pain anymore but choice. She reached up, brushing her fingers lightly over a jagged edge of bone near his jaw. He allowed it. The others began to sleep easier. He was no longer the enemy. Not because they were ordained, but because she acted first. The mining outpost had no shields, no working power. Just walls scorched from forgotten skirmishes and eclipsed comms relay. Teams set up what little defense they could, barricades of rusted plating and salvaged crates. The wounded were placed inside the stretcher bay, bodies stitched together by borrowed time and exhausted hands. Supplies had run dry 2 days ago. Morale followed soon after. Hadn't spoken, but everyone felt the shift. He no longer stayed near the perimeter. He moved through the camp with quiet purpose, inspecting exits, testing structural weakness. The soldiers watched him without fear now. They didn't trust him because they were told to. They trusted him because he hadn't left. When the alert came, shock troopers inbound, no one needed orders. They knew what it meant. Final stand. No reinforcements. No escape. Paced beside it, checking her gear, half of it broken, the rest barely holding together. She glanced up. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, muscles tense, scars glowing faint beneath the skin. He knew this would end one way. But he didn't retreat. She moved close. "They're coming for you." He turned his head. His gaze locked with hers. He dipped it slightly, an almost human gesture of acknowledgement. She handed him an old translator module. Not perfect but enough. He held it close, gently rotating the device. After a moment, it clicked on. The voice that emerged was gravel layered over fire. "You should run." "I won't." He looked toward the darkening sky. "Then you will fall." "Maybe. But not before I fight." He stared for a long time and then dropped the device. "Then I burn." As the first wave approached, a dust rose behind the ridgeline. A little larger than one, with integrated weapons and enhanced armor. Designed to kill anything in their path. Even him. Step forward, slow and deliberate. He inhaled deeply. The glow beneath his ribs intensified, not wild but measured. His wings extended to full span. Turn muscles strained, barely holding. He ignored the pain. Fire curled along his teeth. Raised her rifle. The others formed up behind cover. No speeches. No commands. Just resolve. Moved first. His roar cracked the air like thunder tearing through steel. Flames erupted from his chest, not in a single burst but layered, rhythmic and weaponized. Not random fire but ancient technique. Forgotten by his kind, rediscovered in defiance. The enemy charged. Met them. His claws tore through armor, tail sweeping bodies into walls. Flames seared lines across the ground, cutting their formation. He didn't fight with fury. He fought with focus. Every strike was earned. Every wound ignored. Provided cover fire, targeting exposed joints, staying close but never slowing him down. Her squad followed. They weren't protecting. They were fighting with him. One of the elites struck him through the shoulder. The blade hissed against bone. Stumbled, dropped to one knee. Sprinted across broken ground, slid beside him, fired into the attacker's faceplate. The elite collapsed, twitching. Turned his head toward her. Blood poured freely, but he stood again. Wordless. Relentless. The battle dragged into the night. Bodies piled. Smoke choked the air. When silence finally settled, only the wounded breathed. Collapsed in the center, surrounded by ruin. His scales were split in dozens of pieces, his wing nearly turned free. Ran to him, dropping beside his side. His chest barely rose. She pulled open her. Nothing left. Not even a pain suppressant. Opened his eyes. She leaned in. "Stay awake." "Yeah or not then?" He didn't answer immediately. Then a whisper, "Wasn't for me." "What?" "The bun. The stand. It wasn't for them. It was for you." Her throat tightened. He coughed, a low rumble deep inside. "They cast me out. You brought me back." I remembered who I was. She reached for his face, brushing away ash and blood. "You're not dying." His voice flickered like dying flame. "Then tell me I was more than a weapon." She held his gaze. "You were the reason we lived." Closed his eyes, a chest rising one last time before stillness claimed him. She stayed there, and moving hands pressed against the cooling scales, surrounded by firelight and the silence of victory earned at cost. The war ended not with celebration but exhaustion. Treaties were signed behind closed doors. Beordens redrawn. Nothing was the same, yet no one spoke of the cost. Returned to a station hospital, given light duty and empty commendations. No one mentioned in official records. His name, like his kind's grief, had no place in clean reports. Her dented N was displayed in a glass case at a corner exhibit, Field Reliquary, Lunar Front. No story attached. Just a number. She visited Van's sotrous glance at it without understanding. Van looked at the empty vial compartment and moved on. They didn't know what had been given. She resumed her role, but nothing felt the same. The battlefield taught her medicine meant more than triage. Every patient now reminded her of Scales Fire and a creature who once chose humanity over blood. Years passed. The galaxy adapted slowly. Fragile peace held. Forces withdrew beyond the asteroid cordons. Their worlds remained sealed, their ships unseen. One evening an unusual delegation arrived at the outer embassy. Not warriors but younglings. Smaller, less scarred. Van stepped forward, a decent taller than a human but clearly nervous. In its hand was a medallion etched not with war symbols but with a single human face. The translator activated. "We were told of you," he told us. She didn't speak at first. Her voice caught in her throat. "You knew. We carry his name. We carry yours." They presented her a data card. It contained recorded memories, lest visual imprints stirred by instinctual. In them fire reigned. Blood fell. But central always was her. A presence beside him. A force without violence. The footage ended with one final thought translated through neural intent, not forgotten. Her chest tightened. She didn't cry. She hadn't in years. But something inside her realigned. The delegation gifted her a scale. Not gray, not gold, but deep crimson enrabed with a crest. Below it, a name, rekindled Van. They explained he survived, barely stabilized by a outpost that had disobeyed orders. His return sparked chaos. Honor in exile was forbidden. But his story spread. They couldn't deny what he'd become. Not after seeing the memory of a human who knelt beside a dragon with no reason beyond chores. Now among the Nukest had risen, not warriors, not drones. Healers. The first of their kind. Trained in restraint to purpose survival not through dominance but care. The first hospital ship launched 6 months later. Its name was etched in human letters. No one asked her permission. They didn't need to. Legacy didn't wait for approval. Later she found a message routed through old calm frequencies. Encrypted with a frequency never used by humans. It arrived without origin code. One image. A distant ridge. A large silhouette against twin suns. Wings partially healed. Armor reforged in bronze. At the base of the image only one phrase in common script. Still alive. Still grateful. She stared at it for a long time. No timestamp. No location. She forwarded it to no one. Instead, she uploaded it to the museum database. Silent and documented. Buried deep. No plaque. Just a single terminal marked Volunteer Archive. She didn't return to combat. She didn't retire either. She taught ethics and trauma care. Response. Protocols were written because of her. Not because she demanded it, but because her choices forced others to question theirs. She never called herself a hero. But across species now medics told a story in hushed tones. Of a human who spent her last while on the enemy. A Vegan who learned compassion from a species built on contradiction. Some thought it myth. Others believed it too dangerous to speak aloud. But the story spread because no one could stop it. One day, as she walked past a transport gate, she heard a group of children arguing. When holding a carved figure of a dragon insisted he didn't fight for power. He fought because someone believed in him first. She smiled and kept walking. No need to explain. Some trees tell themselves. And some fires, when sparked, never go out.